Let's talk about Eric Young. Eric Young went on the Chris Van Vliet show, and he had some choice words for the warlord of professional wrestling, Mr. Vince McMahon. And he also talked about his WWE experience. None of it positive. So this is really bizarre. So we're going to get to the thing I keep getting thrown in my face every 2 seconds on the goddamn Twitter machine. Eric Young says WWE has a broken system, and that Vince McMahon is a failed leader. Let's see if that's what he said, and let's see why he said that, and then I'll give my thoughts. Okay, let's do it. This is from Wrestling Inc., which is going to do the transcriptions. So hopefully it's correct. Young said that he expected to be part of the mass cuts WWE were making and did not take his release personally. Eric Young says, when they were going to release talent, I knew for sure I was going to be on that list. Young admitted, it's nothing personal. I don't take it personally. I'm not bitter in any way. One person made a massive mistake. I'm not the first person he's made the mistake on, and will not be the last. So he continued. He continued. Young talked about his first love was pro wrestling to the point it consumed every part of his life. However, he said that the past 3 years were not a happy time for him, forcing him to distance himself from pro wrestling. So Young says, it's a weird situation to be in. You love something so much, pro wrestling. Me and my wife talked about this. My first love in my life was pro wrestling. It was the first thing I cared about so deeply. It consumed everything I did. Every minute, the job I had, the people I talked to, everything in my life was based around pro wrestling and how I could further myself and advance my career. The last 3 years, I hated it. I didn't watch it. I didn't talk about it. I avoided it as much as possible. That's a weird place to be in. They say, okay, so apparently they're coupling this with a piece with from Busted Open Radio that Eric Young talked about it on Busted Open Radio. It says, on Busted Open, Young criticized the way WWE is organized. Young described the work environment as, you're trying to fix other people's mistakes. He said, quote, with the WWE, I'm not the first guy to say this. Moxley talked about this a bunch. It's a broken system. It's impossible to be creative. It's impossible to get ahead. It's impossible to feel like you have even a foothold in your career at all. I'm a person that spent 20 plus years grinding. Trying to make my reputation is basically dumped on by one person for no reason whatsoever. He looked up from his cell phone for 5 seconds, saw me doing something that maybe he didn't agree with in that moment, and that's the end of it. The whole time you're there just trying to fix other people's mistakes. That's what it feels like, and it's an exhausting process. You're not having fun. There's no creativity. He wants everyone to be the same, to do the same things, and sell the same way, and that's not what pro wrestling is to me. So, he goes to talk about Vince McMahon, and he said his conversations with Vince has not been negative. He always treated me with respect, Young noted. When we definitely had a few personal conversations between me and him. I had some things and told him what I thought. He was receptive to it. Nothing ever came of it. I don't take it personally, but I'm in this position because he couldn't recognize that I had anything to offer. Young later called McMahon a failure as a leader. He said if McMahon could not find something for him in a 3-hour show, then he failed not only the company, but also everyone involved. The last thing I'll say about this, Young prefaced, if you have a 3-hour pro wrestling television show and you can't find something for me to do, then you're failing as a leader. Plain and simple. You failed your company, you failed your shareholders, you failed the fans, and you failed yourself. The reason I wasn't on the show was his choice, no one else's. I think if you ask most of the people who worked there, they would be in my corner. He wasn't in my corner, so I wasn't in the show. I would tell him to his face, you failed as a leader. You can't find something for Eric Young to do. It's a really weird place. You can't fully understand it until you're there. Okay. These are some choice words Mr. Eric Young, world-class maniac, has for Vince McMahon. And rightfully, look, before I tear into Eric Young, which I am going to do, which is why I'm doing this video, let me say first, I believe if you hire somebody, you should give them a chance. That's the first thing I should say. Why hire somebody if you're not going to use them? Why hire somebody if you're not going to give them at least a chance? Okay, and I know that Vince McMahon has his he's eccentric. Oh, that word is going to. I was really strange how that word was going to come out. I know he's eccentric, and sometimes people do things like sneeze or wear the wrong colored pants or some shit, and all of a sudden Vince doesn't want to put you on TV anymore. That happens. But now I'm going to turn to Eric Young. Eric Young was 37 years old when he signed his WWE contract. He showed up in WWE in 2017. Eric Young is 40, exactly 40 years old this year, which means he was probably around 37 or 38 years old. What did a 37 or 38-year-old guy do in the WWE except be a jobber? Okay? Eric Young spent most of his career as a comedy jobber scared of fireworks. That's the majority of his TNA run. Was him being a comedy jobber dressed up like a superhero, scared of fireworks. What the fuck does Eric Young think he was? What the fuck did you think you were going to do, sir? Did you think you were going to come to the WWE and take it by storm? Dude, you're fucking 40. Okay, now that's just the first thing. What did you expect? What were your expectations, Eric Young? You were barely on the roster. Barely on the roster. And that's even the NXT roster. You didn't need to be in developmental. You were a job guy. And look, it's sad. I get it. I get it, But again, the Eric Young that I I didn't grow up watching Eric Young. He's not that old. But the Eric Young that I remember seeing from TNA, and yes, I know he was the world champion. I do know that he was the world champion of TNA. It took literally forever for it to happen. He did not have that much time to do it in the WWE. And I do believe Eric Young has some talent. And but there's just no way. There's just no way. Here's the crazy thing. A lot of the people who will side with Eric Young in this situation will say that WWE needs to push young talent. Eric Young is not a young talent. His name is just Eric Young. He was actually Eric old as fuck when he signed his contract. He was fucking 38. Or you can't be serious, man. you can't be serious, So that was a really weird situation for him to be in. And look, this is my big picture. The bigger picture for me is that life is a puzzle. You're not meant to fit everywhere. Eric Young did not fit in the WWE. He fits just well in TNA. He is that kind of guy. WWE has over 50 talents on each roster. They have 3 hours of Raw. Yes, they have 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of NXT. Yes, they do have that much time. But there's so many other people looking for TV time. Do you invest that time into talent that you're trying to get over that are younger? Or do you invest that time into 40-year-old Eric Young? I mean, be honest with yourself. Now, does it work in TNA? Yes, it works in TNA because TNA is a smaller roster. There's probably, 25 people in TNA altogether? Including, the camera crew and the staff and everything? WWE runs a massive shop. There's more people around the ring banging on the goddamn plexiglass than there is on the TNA roster, period. Even at TNA's height, it was a small company. So I don't understand why people think that unless you are exceptional, when you go to WWE, you're probably going to get lost in the shuffle. Now that all that said, I did like Sanity. Sanity debuted in NXT, I believe, in late 2016, early 2017, somewhere abouts. It was Eric Young, Nikki Cross, Alexander Wolf, and Killian Dane, who is I forget what his name was on the Indies, but they were a good team. And I liked Sanity. It was based on The Purge, so there was a lot of dystopic aesthetic to their characters with the jeans and the jackets and everything. Eric Young fit that role because he's been doing sort of the maniac thing, so he kind of fit that with the facials and everything. But Eric Young is also still kind of small too. Okay, so he's like 5'6", 5'7", maybe 5'8" if we're pushing it. So he had the Heater and Dane, who was a big dude. Alexander Wolf is not exactly the biggest guy in the world, but he's bigger than Eric Young. And Nikki Cross for the crazy feminine energy. I loved it. I loved Sanity. That was great. But yes, they did not get a chance on the main roster. I will say that up front, they didn't get a shot, and that's what I mean by giving Eric Young some credit for saying that he didn't even get a chance to get over on the main roster because they had like maybe two or three uh, uh, matches, maybe two or three even appearances before they went off TV for months at a time on SmackDown. And there is no reason why. I haven't heard any reasons why. I can think of reasons. Maybe they just weren't TV ready. I know Dane is a little heavier than Vince wants his guys to be. I know that again. Eric Young is pretty small. Alexander Wolf is, I'm not so sure what the hell was wrong with him, but he's found his place over in NXT UK, so he's fine. Nikki Cross has found her place as far as being alongside Alexa Bliss, so she's fine. Killian Dane is still floundering on NXT. He's still floundering. I mean, that guy could really be doing something else. That's the guy, if we want to be honest, if we're supposed to be looking at investing our time, invest in guys like Killian Dane. Big guys who can move, who can work, who look the part. Those are supposed to be the guys we should be looking at. Not fucking Eric Young, if we're being honest. Now, Eric Young is a guy, he's TNA royalty. I heard that, actually. Impact royalty. I heard that on the episode of Impact that he was on. He's Impact royalty, and that's just what he is. And sometimes that's all people need to be. They need to be medium-sized fish in a small pond. You're not a big fish, But, ultimately, you go to WWE. It's not always about talent. Sometimes it's about placement. Sometimes you just don't have a place, and you don't fit in that puzzle. You're a puzzle piece in the wrong box. Go in the box that you need to be in. I understand the concept of wanting to try it out. Give yourself the opportunity. Take risks. I always support wrestlers who take risks. Eric Young took a risk, went to WWE, tried it out for 3 years. It did not work. I'm not mad at that. I'm mad that the motherfucker showed up at 40 and thought that, I should get a roster spot. What? No, bruh. You're not AJ Styles. AJ Styles was about that age when he showed up. He's about 37, but he's fucking AJ Styles. Okay, unless you're that level of talent, you can fuck off. Even when it comes to somebody who is still around Eric Young's age, Bobby Roode is an amazing talent. Yes, WWE is dropping the ball with Bobby Roode. They are. Absolutely. But Bobby Roode is also 40. And he also was after 35 when he signed a WWE contract. That fucking sucks. Okay? It sucks that they waited so long. But Bobby Roode is a guy that I think, man, he could go anywhere and make money. He's amazing. But I don't know. If it was Bobby Roode saying this stuff that Eric Young is saying, I probably wouldn't even be mad. But it's fucking Eric Young. Get the fuck out of here.